First, Patrul Rinpoche supplicates his root guru, Jigme Galwe Nugu. You turn away from wrongdoing and embrace virtue, following the teachings on cause and effect. Your actions align with the progressive stages of the 9 vehicles. With your perfect view, you remain free from attachment in all circumstances. Peerless Guru, at your feet I humbly bow. What kind of accomplished practitioner was his guru? You turn away from wrongdoing and embrace virtue, following the teachings on cause and effect. Jigme Gyalwai Nyugu was meticulous in choosing between good and evil by adhering to the principle of cause and effect. He refrained from any action, no matter how trivial, that contradicted this principle. He acted impeccably in accordance with the teachings of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and the eminent masters of India and Tibet. Your actions align with the progressive stages of the 9 vehicles. His actions began with the Shravakayana and ascended through the 9 successive vehicles. Unlike some individuals who know very little about the view, yet act recklessly without examining virtues and vices. With your perfect view, you remain free from attachment in all circumstances. Regarding his view, Jigme Gyalwai Nyugu realized that, at the ultimate level, all phenomena are devoid of conceptualization, and at the relative level, they are like dreams and illusions without inherent existence. When hunters go out to hunt, they sometimes return home empty-handed, but each time such a woman visits her own family, she is sure to bring back meat. As I mentioned previously, Tibetans traditionally followed a diet that heavily relied on meat, which is not considered healthy. However, it is undeniable that factors such as geography, transportation, climate, and others contributed to a scarcity of vegetables and grains at that time, which is very different from the situation today. Consequently, some Tibetan women also resorted to killing animals for food. Generally speaking, women, who are often gentle, tend to be less daring than men. However, sometimes women can be fiercer than men when it comes to killing. The same is true in the Han areas of China, where many butchers are women. Though they may not be as strong as their male counterparts, who slaughter larger animals like pigs, sheep, and cattle, these women are often skilled at killing chickens and eels. Currently, the act of killing is extremely serious in the Han areas of China, and the methods employed are varied. I heard that in Ruian city of Zhejiang province, there is a small village known as the ant-eating village, where 70% of the population enjoys eating ants. The villagers first search for ant nests in the mountains and then collect them in bags to take home. They pour the nests into an iron cylinder and steam them on a stove. After that, they dry the cooked ants and consume them. The villagers prepare ants in various ways, including dehydrating, steaming, eating them raw, soaking them in alcohol, and more. They believe that eating ants helps to improve immunity, physical fitness, and longevity. There are differing opinions about eating ants, and sometimes the cruelty of humans can be quite frightening. Some women may appear gentle, kind, and well-educated, but they can be ruthless when it comes to consuming animals. It can be quite scary to witness blood occasionally dripping from their teeth. Interestingly, when a tiger consumes a human, it is labeled as a ferocious beast. However, humans, despite consuming countless other beings, are not considered ferocious. In fact, humans are the most ferocious beings in this world. Additionally, humans tend to prioritize their own interests above all else, often disregarding other species. When several thousand people perished in the Yushu earthquake, the tragedy garnered global attention, and mass media outlets commented on the pitiful state of the victims. However, every day in slaughterhouses and markets, countless animals are killed, their lives no different from ours. Sadly, many people remain indifferent to this reality. There are no equivalent animal rights laws in place to protect them, which is undeniably unfair. In this world, it is wrong to consume other animals as food. Buddhists have played a positive role in challenging this negative practice. I hope that, in the future, more attention will be given to abstaining from killing, releasing lives, giving up a meat-based diet, and adopting a vegetarian diet. Otherwise, some laypeople who have been studying the Dharma for years may understand that killing a person results in legal punishment. But they may not realize that killing an animal leads to negative karmic consequences. Even worse, some may feel indifferent when killing animals or insects with their own hands. It is our responsibility to help them correct these misguided beliefs. Women are often compassionate. Patrul Rinpoche referred to compassionless Tibetan women as red-faced monsters. By extension, compassionless Chinese women could be labeled white-faced monsters. Many of you may feel that you do not have such a fault because you have never engaged in killing. In reality, you may simply be unaware of the killings you commit. If you examine your life closely, you will realize you have committed many acts of killing and have taken away the precious lives of many beings, both intentionally and unintentionally. As you know, killing is the gravest negative action, as life is the most precious thing in this world. Here is a story from the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom. A man searched for treasures in the ocean. His ship was wrecked, and all his treasures fell into the sea. Fortunately, he was unharmed. He returned and joyfully announced, "I nearly lost a valuable treasure." People laughed at him, saying, "You lost all your treasures in the ocean. Nothing remains. Why do you say, 'I nearly lost a valuable treasure'?" He replied, "Among all treasures, human life is the most important. People seek treasure to support their lives, not the other way around. Life is the most precious thing in the world. All sentient beings, including insects, view this the same way humans do. While beings vary in size, their experiences of happiness and pain are similar. Adults and young children suffer when killed, just as insects do. Despite their small size, insects also experience significant pain when they are killed. Therefore, experiencing suffering when killed is the same for everyone, regardless of nationality, ethnicity, skin color, species, and more. All sentient beings in this world experience fear when faced with being killed. Except for noble beings who have attained the ultimate state of realization, all beings, regardless of size, inherently desire life and fear death. Those who disregard the lives of other beings should be condemned. The anger of a person who takes lives frightens all beings. The treatise on the great perfection of wisdom says those who enjoy killing are disliked by all living beings. Those who dislike killing are welcomed happily by all beings. If a butcher who takes lives stays in your house, it is very likely that you will fear he may murder you in the middle of the night for money. In contrast, a person who aspires to benefit all beings will naturally possess a kind demeanor, making people happy to stay with him. Therefore, everyone should cultivate compassion for all sentient beings. Children often cause the deaths of countless animals while playing, whether they are aware of it or not. For example, in summer, they may unknowingly kill many insects simply by striking the ground with a willow branch or a leather whip as they walk. Except for those whose Mahayanist disposition has already developed in childhood, most children have killed frogs, tadpoles, dragonflies, butterflies, earthworms, ants, and more. However, in today's densely populated cities filled with skyscrapers, children primarily encounter concrete buildings and school playgrounds. They have fewer opportunities to experience nature's greenery, resulting in fewer chances to harm insects. Nevertheless, if a child lacks inherent or learned kindness and compassion, they may harm small birds, chicks, or rabbits in their youth, and eventually harm larger animals like cattle, horses, lions, or elephants as they grow older. Moreover, if they become scientists, they may develop atomic bombs and other nuclear weapons, leading to the destruction of countless lives. Children should be taught about compassion. They need to learn not to harm others, and if they do, there should be consequences. Many school teachers who are present here for today's teaching told me that they would slap a student's palm if they do not turn in their homework on time. While this might be effective, it should also apply if a student takes the life of a living being. In addition to discipline, the student should receive Dharma teachings so they understand from a young age that all living beings value their lives, just as humans do. Through these teachings, young people can develop compassion over time. Last year, on June 1st, the International Children's Day, I invited many children and their parents to participate in various activities rooted in Mahayana Buddhism. These activities included saving animals, chanting prayers, prostrating, offering lamps, singing Buddhist songs, and engaging in Buddhist dances. Such activities can help children cultivate values of compassion, loving kindness, and animal protection. With this year's Children's Day just a month away, I strongly suggest organizing these activities in various locations so that the seeds of compassion and loving kindness can be sown in the hearts of children. This is more important than anything else in their lives. Generally speaking, the experiences we have during primary and secondary school are most likely to stay in our memories. When we look back, we can vividly recall experiences from those years, while most of what happened afterward has already faded from memory. For this reason, we now combine the study of traditional Chinese culture with Buddhism. We aim to help children cultivate compassion from a young age through activities such as watching cartoons and recitation, among others. By doing so, we hope that as these children grow up, they will possess kindness and develop bodhicitta. Ultimately, they will become good individuals, regardless of their wealth, status, or fame. This is more meaningful than anything else. In fact, it is the responsibility of every Dharma practitioner to care for the children around us, as their fate is closely connected with ours. It is never too late to guide them toward the right path. If you take action, even a seemingly small effort or simple act can have a significant impact on a child's life and on the lives of many others in the future. The sutra preached by the Buddha on distinguishing the effects of good and evil states that the act of taking life, whether human, animal, or any other living creature, leads to 5 negative consequences. 1. Being short-lived life after life. 2. Frequently facing horrors. 3. Having more enemies. 4. Being reborn in hell and experiencing suffering. 5. Being reborn as a short-lived and sick human after emerging from hell. Therefore, the fact that many people currently experience fear, have numerous enemies, and encounter various obstacles is related to their actions of taking life in previous lives. In Tibet, you will often hear someone say, "Although I am not a good practitioner, I have never intentionally killed any living being. This is the most meaningful aspect of my human life." The same is true for certain Dharma friends. Once they have taken refuge or been ordained, it becomes impossible for them to kill a being. Even if they have not diligently practiced and have been idle at times, occasionally committing a few negative actions, the crucial point is that they will no longer engage in killing for the rest of their lives. It is precisely this cessation of killing that gives their human lives greater significance. The ground in the city turned into hot iron, causing the child's feet to feel like they were on fire and inflicting unbearable pain upon him. The child cried out and ran around the city, eventually reaching the east gate, only to find it closed. The same was true for the west, south, and north gates. A mulberry picker noticed the child running in the field, crying out, and thought the child had lost his mind. The mulberry picker then informed the child's father. When the father arrived, he called out the child's name, and the child responded, but then fainted. Suddenly, the city and the fire disappeared. However, when the father examined his son's legs, he discovered that they were burned from the knee down. The wounded areas eventually turned into bone and never healed. Some children suddenly develop incurable diseases. Some become disabled or even die. These occurrences are the karmic consequences of their actions related to killing in this life and past lives. If parents want their children to contribute to societal development, they should instill good values in their minds early on. Otherwise, it is difficult to predict what the children will become as they grow up. As Mahayanists, we do not live in isolation, detached from social interactions. Therefore, we must care for those around us. We should not solely focus on concerns like what to eat or how to sleep. If we only think about ourselves and lack an altruistic mindset, we are not true Mahayanists. Many people, in fact, spend their entire lives taking life like ogres. Some individuals living in big cities are no different from hunters and butchers. Why is that? It is because they consume many animals in their daily meals. People living near the sea especially kill numerous sentient beings for each meal. These individuals can be even more ferocious than a hunter who only occasionally kills an animal. Regarding the killing of animals, Petru Rinpoche exclaims, "Indeed, when we reflect on how we slaughter cattle to feast on their flesh and blood, despite the fact that they have spent their entire lives serving us and nourishing us with their milk, like a mother, we appear more monstrous than any ogre. There are two kinds of ogres, one that eats even its own child, and the other that does not. The latter is slightly more conscientious, as it does not directly kill others." Here is a well-known story from Tibet that explains why humans are worse than any ogre. Once, there was a thief who hid in the forest while being pursued. He planned to steal and slaughter a yak from a nearby herdsman at night. Driven by his negative karma, he encountered a Mara. During their conversation, the thief learned that the Mara intended to kill a yak. So he said to the Mara, "Since you are a Mara, you must be powerful and capable. You go and kill a yak. I will boil water for you here." The Mara then left. At dawn, the Mara returned empty-handed. "Is everything ready?" the thief asked. "Yes," the Mara answered. "Then where is the beef?" "Not yet," said the Mara. "I just inserted a piece of sawdust into the yak's hoof, which will soon start to fester. When it festers, it will become infected, and the yak will soon die." "That is too slow," complained the thief. "I do not want to wait that long. Why don't I go and you wait for me?" The thief then stole a yak and slaughtered it immediately. Soon, he carried the bloody beef back to the forest. The Mara was surprised and said, "That was so fast. Are you a Mara who is more ferocious than I am?" The Mara dared not eat the beef and ran away. This shows that sometimes humans are more terrifying than Maras. When a Mara kills living beings, it considers the time and conditions. Only when the causes and conditions ripen will the Mara initiate pandemics or create natural disasters to gradually reach its goal. In contrast, when a human wants to kill a living being, they can do so on the spot and eat it right away. One can witness such horrifying scenes in restaurants. Such humans have no compassion. All they care about is satisfying their appetites. In this regard, humans are indeed worse than Maras. Taking a life is considered complete as a negative action when all four elements are present. As a result, the killer must experience the full karmic consequences of killing. This concept is emphasized in the teachings of Vinaya as well as in my recent teaching on the aspiration to be reborn in the pure realm of Sukhavati. Many people are unsure whether they have completed an act of taking life, so let's elaborate on this. What are the 4 elements of killing? Consider the example of a hunter killing a wild animal. First, he clearly sees and identifies the animal, whether it is a stag, musk deer, or another creature, fully recognizing it as a living being. This awareness forms the basis for the act. Next, the desire to kill arises within him, and the idea of killing the animal is the intention to take its life. Then he carries out the action by striking a vital point of the animal with a weapon, such as a gun or a bow and arrow. This represents the physical execution of the act. Finally, the animal's vital functions cease, and the conjunction of its body and mind is severed, marking the final completion of the act of taking a life. At this point, the animal's vital functions come to an end, and the conjunction of its body and mind disintegrates. This signifies the final completion of the act of taking a life. The act of killing is complete when it encompasses all 4 aforementioned elements of a negative action. Another example is the slaughter of a sheep raised for meat by its owner in the Tibetan region. First, the owner instructs a servant or butcher to kill the sheep. The basis for this act is the owner's awareness that the sheep is a living, sentient being. The intention, the idea of killing the sheep, arises the moment the owner decides to have it slaughtered. The execution of the killing occurs when the slaughterer takes his noose, swiftly captures the chosen sheep, flips it onto its bat, secures its legs with leather straps, and tightens a rope around its muzzle until it suffocates. In the Tibetan region, cattle and sheep were previously killed by strangulation. This method inflicts excruciating pain on the animal and takes approximately 10 minutes to end its life. In comparison, cutting the throat of an animal takes about 3 to 4 minutes, while electrocution takes 2 minutes. Electrocution is also a method used to execute criminals. Therefore, if one must kill a living being, it is crucial to minimize its suffering by carrying out the killing as swiftly as possible. The great Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche also mentioned in class a story about Lama Wozer of Dawu County, who possesses a strong sense of compassion. While pursuing his Dharma studies at Dzogchen Monastery, Lama Wozer overheard a local method of slaughtering yaks. By stabbing a specific vein in a yak's back, the animal would collapse and die instantly. He returned to his hometown and advised the villagers, if you must kill yaks, consider using this technique. Later, someone slandered him, stating this Lama left his hometown to study Dharma. But instead of focusing on learning the Buddhist teachings, he learned how to kill yaks, something he should not have learned. What is even worse is that he brought this technique of slaughtering yaks back to his hometown. In response to this, the great Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche commented, even though a great bodhisattva teaches others how to slaughter yaks, which may have a direct or indirect karmic impact on oneself, what he does can alleviate the suffering of those living beings. In many slaughterhouses, cattle are killed in extremely cruel ways. As those who watched the documentary The Journey of Compassion know, that the yak's eyes are still rolling and its muscles are still quivering when the butcher cuts open its throat, or even after decapitating it. The process of ceasing to breathe is very painful for the yak. Sometimes I wonder, with advancements in science and technology, should electric shock be used by butchers when killing yaks to minimize their suffering? As we all know, the pain of sickness is incomparable to the agony of death. However, we struggle to endure even the suffering caused by illness, let alone that of death. Therefore, when we encounter these pitiable living creatures, we should not only think about ourselves, but also consider their well-being. As the sheep is strangled by a rope, its breath ceases, its wide eyes take on a bluish hue and grow cloudy, with tears streaming down. What a brutal and agonizing death. Its lifeless body is then dragged into the house, marking the final stage, the completion of ending its life. In an instant, the sheep is skinned with a knife, its flesh still trembling because the all-pervading energy has not yet fully departed from its body, making it appear as though it were still alive. Without delay, it is roasted over a fire or cooked on a stove and then consumed. Reflecting on this, such animals are almost eaten while still alive, making humans no different from predatory beasts. During Patrul Rinpoche's time, some lamas and monks, when visiting their benefactors' homes, were served the meat of animals that had been slaughtered and prepared specifically for them. Their craving for meat was so strong that they consumed it eagerly, showing neither remorse nor compassion for the slain creatures. In such instances, the negative karmic consequences of the killing were shared equally by both the benefactors and their guests. It is true that the tradition of offering the flesh and blood of animals existed in Tibet in the past. It reflected the inappropriate actions of certain individual practitioners. We should address the matter as it is. There is no need to deny or hide. Tibetan Buddhism has since made positive changes in this respect. Except for very few monasteries and households, the tradition of slaughtering animals to make offerings to lamas and monks has generally disappeared. We cannot deny what happened in the past, but it is not a common phenomenon. I have mentioned in some of my books that eminent masters such as Jigme Gyalwai Nyugu, Patrul Rinpoche, and Pema Dundul, 1816 to 1872, strongly condemned the offering and consumption of meat and blood, as can be seen from their biographies. Of course, some benefactors may be unaware of the negative consequences of killing animals and offering their flesh and blood. However, it is not acceptable for recipients to knowingly withhold information about these faults to avoid upsetting the benefactors. A Dharma teacher must know what to do and what to avoid. It is highly irresponsible for a teacher not to inform a benefactor about the negative consequences of killing, merely to prevent them from becoming unhappy or frustrated. Instead, the teacher should not give in to the benefactor's wishes and should firmly say, "No, that is not acceptable." A flower ornament sutra states loving kindness and compassion are vast. Then peace and happiness will permeate all beings. No matter how eloquent a person's speech may be, without loving kindness and compassion, such eloquence cannot bring genuine good to oneself or others, in this life or in lives to come. The Mahapurusa Sastra also says, giving love and compassion in such a manner renders endless merits. Making offerings in such a subtle way brings peace and happiness to all beings. Therefore, we should all cultivate compassion, even if we are unable to observe all the other precepts. As Mahayanists, we should uphold the precept of non-killing and compassion. The sutra requested by Ananda states, if you do not abandon one dharma, you then uphold all supreme dharmas. What does not abandoning one dharma mean? It refers to not abandoning all sentient beings. Furthermore, we should frequently practice love and compassion. The Mahaparinirvana Sutra says, if one practices love and compassion day and night to all living beings, one will obtain long-lasting happiness because one does not annoy others. Therefore, as more compassionate people arise, this world will transform into a garden of happiness. Conversely, if there is no love, compassion, joy, and equanimity in people's hearts, no matter how advanced the external material world becomes, it does not necessarily benefit humanity. Worse yet, it may even lead to humanity's self-destruction. I firmly believe that the key to world peace lies in the love and compassion of Mahayana Buddhism. Without them, achieving peace is simply impossible. In the 1980s, the late renowned Tibetan Lama Mogye Samtun stated, The essential foundation of world peace is great compassion. When I was younger, I did not pay much attention to his words. However, as I reflect on his statement now, I recognize the immense value in the insights of experienced practitioners like Lama Mogye Samtun. Not only does the peace of the world, nations and ethnic groups depend on great compassion, but the peace of our communities and families does as well. Individuals who possess deep compassion naturally foster harmonious relationships with others. In contrast, those with selfish mindsets can never bring about peace in the world. We have just studied the 4 elements required for the completion of the act of killing. Does this mean one can be exempt from the karmic effects of killing if all 4 elements are not fulfilled? The answer is no. Suppose you planned to kill an animal today, or you had the intention to do so, but ultimately did not carry out the act. In this case, 2 key elements, the basis and the intention of the negative action, would still be present. First, the awareness that the creature is a living being, and second, the deliberate intention to take its life. While the harm caused would be less severe than if the act had been fully executed, the stain of a negative act, like a reflection in a mirror, would nevertheless remain. Therefore, in our daily lives, we should avoid thinking or saying something like, "I am going to kill you," even in jest. During an argument, some individuals may choose to shout, "I will eat you if you continue to ignore this matter." However, it is important to note that cannibalism, which refers to one person consuming another, is extremely rare. When someone threatens another using such language, even if they do not genuinely intend to act upon it, they have already planted the negative karmic seed of cannibalism in the mind stream, which is undesirable. Some people believe that only the individual who directly commits the act of killing accumulates negative karma, while the one who merely gives the order remains unaffected, or if they do bear any karmic consequences, it is only minimal. Because of this wrong view, when it is time to order at a restaurant that serves living creatures like fish, some lay people will say, "I am not going to order because I have taken refuge. You all can place the order. I like to eat so-and-so fish." Such an action is quite concerning. However, be aware that everyone involved, even those who simply felt pleased about the act, will experience the same karmic consequences. This applies even more so to the individual who directly gave the order for the killing. According to the Theravada precepts, soliciting others to kill carries the same karmic effect as killing by oneself. However, according to the Bodhisattva vows of Mahayana Buddhism, soliciting killing results in more negative karmic effects than the act of killing itself. Why is that? Killing with one's own hands brings karmic effects solely to the killer, whereas soliciting another to kill harms not only oneself, but also the person being solicited. Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes altruism, making such solicitation a greater transgression. The Sutra on Deciding the Effect of Good and Evil Actions states, if one's mind is kind, they will receive a positive karmic effect. If one's mind is evil, they will receive a negative karmic effect. The actions a person takes will lead to corresponding effects on themselves. Therefore, all karmic effects are subject to the mind, while speech and actions are secondary. If you solicit others to kill, even if you do not physically kill, but have generated the thought, you will experience the karmic consequences. All individuals involved in the killing of an animal will fully experience the karmic consequences of that act. The act of killing a single animal cannot be divided among multiple people. Each participant bears the complete karmic result. For example, when 10 diners order a single large fish for their meal, the karmic effect is not divided by 10. Instead, each diner receives the full consequence of killing that fish. The treasury of Abhidharma also states, in wars and so forth, all of them have the same goal, so all possess the karma, like the perpetrator. If an army of 100 soldiers kills a person, then every soldier receives the entire karmic result of that killing. This principle also applies to those who perform positive actions. Therefore, we must be mindful not to take life, as many karmic actions are interconnected, which is quite alarming. Take KFC and McDonald's, for example. According to statistics from 2009, there were over 30,000 McDonald's restaurants in 120 countries, including 1,065 in China. Every day, more than 50 million customers worldwide visit McDonald's. Similarly, there are over 11,000 KFC restaurants in more than 80 countries, including 2,000 in China. The KFC slogan is "It is finger-lickin' good," while the McDonald's slogan is "I am lovin' it." These chain restaurants share the same objective of promoting meat consumption. If you dine at one of these chain restaurants, you become entangled in the karmic consequences of the killings carried out by all these restaurants worldwide. Do you dare to dine at one of these chain restaurants? You should definitely consider this. The two chains slaughter millions of living beings every day. McDonald's was established in 1940 and KFC in 1952, over 60 years ago. How many living beings have been killed during such a lengthy period? The exact number is difficult to calculate. Jigme Gyalwai Nyugu and Patrul Rinpoche both stated that anyone who owns a flock of 100 or more sheep can be assured of experiencing rebirth in hell. Therefore, we can conclude that the karmic consequences for the owners of these restaurants are extremely severe. I heard that in 2006, a Hong Kong celebrity gave a lecture at a university. After the lecture, the organizer hosted a dinner for the celebrity and his staff members. Together, they consumed over 150 kilograms of fish. The restaurant owner was so surprised that he referred to the celebrity as the Big Stomach King. Acts of killing in cities can be more severe compared to Tibet or rural areas. As mentioned in the previous section, in Tibet, when a married daughter visited her mother, at most one sheep would be slaughtered to treat her, and she would bring some meat back home. Nowadays, in the Han areas of China, each time you visit a restaurant or an entertainment venue, you will witness extravagant meals that involve the sacrifice of countless living beings. Therefore, as humans, we should reflect on the state of the world today. It is also crucial for us to contemplate our past actions that have caused harm to living beings. Just recently, a Dharma student confessed to me, saying, "I came across a Buddhist story, and now I feel immense remorse for my past actions." It is not necessary to feel remorse solely from reading a Buddhist story. However, if you have ever taken the life of a living being, then you should indeed feel deep remorse. Have you considered how you might repay such a karmic debt? In summary, the karmic consequences of taking life are extremely severe. Therefore, we must repent for our negative actions and vow not to intentionally kill any living being in this lifetime, even if it means sacrificing our own lives. I hope that everyone in attendance at today's teaching will make this vow. With such a strong determination, the negative actions of killing committed in the past will gradually be purified.